All right, hey, how's everybody doing there? Welcome to the episode 1 of The Chair. The first thing we wanted to get into was this incident that happened that's been resurfacing on, I believe it's Trash Bag Wrestlers and a couple other websites with this incident I had where I hit a fan with the chair. And the big talk about it is it a shoot or is it a work or whatever the situation was. And part of the issue I have with this whole thing and even talking about it is because the wrestling, at least on the independent level, has changed vastly in the last decade. It's becoming more of a couple people who know terms and stuff, smarks, let's say, believe they know what's going on. And you have some of these guys who aren't properly trained, didn't go to a legitimate trainer to learn how to be a pro wrestler, arguing back with them. And then it becomes an asshole battling with the jackass. You have two guys arguing a point, which, a real legit worker will just say, hey, whatever, fan, be a mark, and this is what it is. If you either like it or you don't. Myself, I don't feel the need to justify what I do in the ring or explain what I do, or if it's a shoot or a work. You come to a show to be a fan and watch the show. You pay your $10 or whatever, be entertained, go home, and that's it. You don't need to be in the business or know about the business. But because the internet and certain things, people are a little bit smarter to what's going on. But the problem with being smart to something is whenever you're slightly educated on something, and this is just life in general, you become stupid because you think you know and you don't know. So it just, unless you are a real worker, you don't understand what's going on with the business. So, but like I said, people have their views and what they want to believe. But one of the things that spurred me to do this video was some of the comments people were making on it. And I'm going to get a little bit in the asshole mode for a second. But you have a lot of these guys who say they're workers on there arguing with the fan about if it's a shoot or if it's a work or whatever. And then they have the gall to say, well, if that was me, I would have kicked his ass. And part of me looking at the guy who made the comments, I'm like, if you could kick my ass, I shouldn't be in the business. Second of all, that's the only way we'd be on the same show is if you were a fan because I was working. Because you don't look like a pro wrestler. If you're a wrestler, there's certain things you should do. Gear is one of them. And, workout is another one. And probably not be in your 90s. These guys feel they have the need to be internet tough guys and want to kick my ass. And hey, I have no problem fighting somebody. I've done it several times. But don't sit there and say you'll kick my ass because you got worked or whatever. Okay, it's an angle that happened and it was fun and it's great. What spurred on this whole thing was SPW, the company that I was one of the founders of. I work for them now. Was becoming a company where things were done just to pop the boys and business was going bad. At the time, you had a lot of workers that were basically watching videos, seeing something funny, and trying to emulate it back in a show. Similar to what happened years back when ECW would do a table spot and then a guy on an indie show would do it. Whenever you do something like that, there's a psychology that goes behind it. And the example I can give is, we all know who Colt Cabana is. Fucking guy's actually a really good worker. Funnier than shit in the ring. And he loves doing the comedy wrestling. He talks about it. That's what he does. People will watch him do things, and then thus it's funny and got a good response. They'll go do that back in a show somewhere. Problem you don't realize is he does a lot of shit that leads up to that stuff, which makes it funny. And that's what his character is. You can't go from being funny to I'm Japanese strong style in the same match. It doesn't work that way. And people try to emulate that and then the business gets killed. And that's what the company SPW was becoming, I thought anyways. So I felt I had the need or the want to change things a little bit. And one of my boys that I was talking to by the name of Flaco Loco was, okay, that's fine, but how do we do that? How do we get the fans to buy into what we're doing? And my response was, the way we do that is we make the boys buy into it and make the boys believe. And when the boys believe, the fans have no choice but to believe. And so what I decided to do was to basically work the boys and to work the workers. And it started right when I got there. The guy who was booking at the show, his name was Sal Tomaselli. He used to wrestle with the Iron Saints. He was booking. He had this big old gimmick angle he wanted me to do. And I was like, Sal, it's not going to work. That's just too much. He wanted me to be this heel, come in and bump all these guys. And I was like, that's not believable. I need to be a dirty heel. I need to go old school, and I need to do something. I need to beat up a ref or beat up somebody that they don't expect me to beat up. And as we were talking, there was really not anybody who fans wouldn't believe. So another wrestler had a couple guys he was training, and I said, hey, let me use one of your students. And he's like, for what? I said, well, I want to do a spot in a match. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? I said, just tell him to, get on me the whole match and be on me. And then at one point I'll look at him and just tell him to feel the chin. And he's like, okay. And so he introduced me to this kid named Christian Sky, great kid, young worker. And I had never met the kid before and met him that day. And I, honestly, for a while, I didn't even know he was still in the business till I ran into him at another show. We decided to do this spot, and we just wanted to keep people out of the loop, because the more people that know, the more fake it becomes. So the only 4 people that knew exactly what was going on was myself, Sir Samurai, who's the owner, Sal Tomaselli, and J.R. Kratos, who's the guy I was doing the whole gimmick with. And we decided we're going to start this show. We're going to work everybody. And so I went out there and talked to some of the boys, and even my 2 sons, Roman and Titus, was telling them that JR doesn't want to sell for me. He doesn't want a job to me. He doesn't want to do anything. He's disrespecting the business. I said, screw him, and yada, yada, yada. And JR was doing the same thing. As the show's going on, I decided middle there, I'm going to walk out during a match, and JR is at the merch table selling merch, and I'm going to go there and start crapping them. So I walk out there like I'm going to go to the snack bar. Mind you, middle of a match is going on, and I say, what's your problem? And he stands up, and I push him. He hops over here. We do this whole big thing, and none of the guys knew. None of the guys knew what was going on. And I'm going to do the first big name drop here. JR is sitting next to Jeff Cobb, and Jeff Cobb looks up, and it's just like, what the hell is going on? And Jeff Cobb can grab both of us and dump them on our heads anytime he wants to, and he just sits there and he doesn't know what's going on and if he should break it up or whatever. So we do this whole big fight off basically, and we're up, and I'm dropping N-bombs and saying, go get your hands up, and we're just sitting there like we're getting ready to fight in a schoolyard. The locker room clears, and they I go to punch him, and he tackles him. We go to the ground, and they pull us apart, and I go out the front door. He goes out the back, and of course we meet on the side. And we start hugging and shaking. All the guys are like, oh my god, I can't believe you worked us. And from that moment on, even my 2 sons were like, oh my god, you got us. And from that moment on, everybody believed in what was going on. They're like, man, you can still fool people, because I fooled the boys, and the boys bought into it. So the mood started changing, the attitude started changing of people involved, and the workers in the show, because now they believe that, man, wrestling is still alive. We can still do things. So when we decided to do this match, and if you weren't there that night, you don't really understand what was going on, because you don't feel the emotion. You didn't feel the tension in the air. And me and JR do our match, and I know I'm breaking a lot of kayfabe, but we're doing our match, and we're not selling each other stuff. He I think at one point he slammed me on the steps, and I kind of sit up like this motherfucker, and like I didn't want to take the move, and we're beating the hell out of each other, and we're just not selling stuff. We're doing everything like where the fan, you can see the fans visibly going, man, like these guys aren't. This isn't a normal match. Like these guys aren't doing the big, oh my god, and Ugly's not selling like Ugly normally sells, and so as we were working and we go outside, and I just start hitting him with the chairs. I must have hit JR probably 15 times. I was just laying into him. JR's a big dude, and he was rolling over because I was just laying it to him. And the kid Christian starts what they don't show in the videos. He actually touched me, and kind of put his hands on me. And I kind of stepped back and pushed away a little bit. And so people are thinking, man, he shouldn't put his hands on a wrestler. So I grab the chair and throw it in his face, and he goes down, and of course the locker room clears, and we do a whole big, gimmick and skirmish off. And anyways, we pull, they pull me back, and as they're pulling me back, another thing the camera doesn't show, because that's just the fan's camera, is the commissioner comes out, who her name's Kyla or something, and she's one of the girls who's been around the business a little bit. Never really a worker, but good looking girl, pretty girl, big boobage, let's say. So of course she's got a spot in the show, and good person, good character. And me and her had a little bit of heat, legitimate heat on the outside. And She came down the aisle, and I grabbed her by the throat and I threw her down. It was obviously a work, but everybody bought into it because they knew we had legit heat with each other, and it actually made us better friends because the angle worked so well. But one of the reasons why a lot of the fans bought into the whole thing was because a few years back, we're doing a show, and I'm doing a 6-man with my little brother Bulldog, and another name drop here. Adam Thornstone is another partner of mine, and this kid was in the audience, and the kid was the brother of one of the girls who was sleeping with the wrestlers, and you know. I'm sure the name will pop on what we call those people. But anyways, he was kind of finding out the inside of the business and knew certain things, and he was in the audience screaming them out. And the boys were getting pissed off, and they kept telling me, hey, he needs to stop. And he's just a kid. We'll figure it out. I'll talk to him. And he just kept doing it. So during this match, he's saying what the finish of the match is. And Adam leans over and goes, man, somebody's got to shut him up. So I said, yeah, it's going to be me. So I hopped down. I told him, you need to shut your damn mouth. He's like, oh, Ugly, you guys are still going over. So I slap him. I legitimately open hand slap the kid. And, I mean, the kid, he's like 23 years old. But, so I slap him, and he, holding his face, and he's all crying and everything. And, of course, he leaves, and, we go back, we finish the match. And next day on the message board, you get these same fans, and they're like, oh, if that was me, I would have kicked Ugly's ass, and blah, blah, blah. Of course, they go home, and they're all tough guys. And everybody was going to kick my ass. So anyways, we come back the next month, and it's the biggest show in the company's history. We're freaking selling out the building, and the kid, his name's Fat Loud Kid, we call him. He shows up with the catcher's mask on, thought it was, funny, and it was over it, and he realized he was wrong, and he became a gimmick in the show, and but it's part of the reason why people believe that was true, because I legitimately have hit a fan before. But when we did the thing with JR and that fan, it was a legit a work. But it helped us for what we were doing, and it was a great angle, and actually it brought the believability back in the boys and the workers. And if we can cut to the video real quick. You can see, I'm hitting him with the chair, and this is when I'm talking to the Christian Sky kid, and he's sitting there, and you can tell me I'm looking to make sure the chair is safe, and he's feeding properly, and then I throw it at him, and it's a clean shot. It went off a little bit, but he does go down, does a great job of selling, and what made this believable for the most part was all the boys cleared the locker room. Babyface and heels came out and pulled us apart, and the show stopped, and so it was a little bit of believability. But like I said, if you weren't there that night when it went on, you don't grasp the concept of what was happening in the air or the arena that night. It was a surreal moment. But for me, that's what I like to bring back to wrestling is people don't know if it's real or fake. Because people know what we do necessarily. Nobody wants to use the F word, but it's certain things we do and we don't do in the business, and I'm not going to give things away. People know things, but I'm not going to give it to them. Example I can give is I used to come out with this gimmick called the Ugly Stick as a 2x4 wrapped in barbed wire, and I had this fan come up and he's like, "Oh, you switched your Ugly Stick," and I'm like, "This is the one I always use." Like, "Oh, that's real barbed wire." And I was like, yeah, I know. And he's like, well, where's the one you use in the shows? And I'm like, this is it. And he's like, no, that's not. You don't use real barbed wire. And I was like, no, really, I do. I do. And I use, this is what I do. And he's like, well, what kind do you normally use? And I was like, the kind I get at Home Depot, like it's the barbed wire. What are you talking about? He's like, 95% of wrestlers use plastic barbed wire, or they snip the tips. Okay, first off, where did you get this statistic of 95% of wrestlers? Like, did you take a poll? Did you get Sabu together and all these wrestlers and talk about what kind of barbed wire you use? Like, you don't. There's no preference for you say that, other than that's what you think. We don't use fake barbed wire. It's real barbed wire. And the other thing was like snipping the tips. That hurts more if it goes in, because now it's a flat end that goes into you. But there's no sense in talking to a mark, because they're going to believe what they want to believe. Myself, I give into it. When people tell me, that blood's fake. And I'm just like, okay, like, that's what you want to believe. They're like, oh yeah, no, I know somebody who did this and it's blood capsules and it's this and that. And I'm just like, no, no, you're wrong. It's not blood capsules. So what I do is I have them cut the match, and then they come out and put fake blood on me, and then we start the match again. And they'll believe you because they don't want to believe the truth. So these marks will believe you, and they'll sit there and say, really? Oh my God. And I'm like, yeah, it's in the middle of the show because, people on TV or at the video don't know. We just cut tape, and they put all this blood on me, and then we go. And to them, that's more believable than the truth. So I don't tell them what the real deal. I'll give them more false information and let them go home thinking, that they know what's really happening. Because the funniest thing is later when they talk to another wrestler and they're sitting there saying, oh yeah, no, I know how you do that now. Well, Big Ugly told me. And then right away, generally most of the boys will be like, oh shit, this is going to be good. And then they'll tell the boys, well, Ugly said you do this. And they'll be like, oh man, oh God, yeah. He shouldn't have told you that, man. He's giving away the business. And they actually, reinforce what I say so these people believe it, and that's the way I like to work the marks anyways, but for me it's just bringing believability back into wrestling, and that's why I did things like this. And there's a couple of things that I'm working on for future shows, but for me this whole angle we did with this chair shot with the fan, I will come on here and say, yes, I'm going to break kayfabe. It was a work, it was a work. But it was, like all wrestling is a work. It happened. Not to say that fans don't get punched once in a while. It happens too, but it was a work. It did what we got accomplished. What we wanted to get accomplished, and it was better for the business. The workers that got worked out there, you're welcome. The wrestlers out there who were smart enough to just shut the hell up and not say anything and just stay out of it, great job. To the fans who believe, hey, keep believing. It's what the business is about. It's why I got into it, was because I believed, and with wrestling and what's going on in the indie circuit right now, there needs to be some more believability because it's so fake. I'm a little bit old school in the mentality of it's got to look like somewhat of a contest, somewhat of a fight, and I've been in one or two street fights, I guess. And I've thrown kicks before, and I've never, ever slapped my leg. Wrestling's got to be a little believable, and the more things we can protect, the better for us. But I think it was Jeff Jarrett who made this quote, and I know I'm going to misquote it because I don't remember exactly what it was, but he said something to the effect of like, for those who believe, no excuse is necessary. For those who don't believe, no excuse will do. And that's exactly it, because there's so many people who don't want to believe anything we do, so they find reasons to discredit it. And those are usually the people who didn't have enough guts or balls to stay and get in the business in the first place. So they want to discredit what we do and say they know when they don't know, or they took a class and quit. Now they know the business, So, wrestlers, just have fun doing what you're doing. Try to change the industry for the better. Make your money, do what's right, not what's best for you. Do what's best for the show. And fans, be fans, man. Buy our merch. Come see us wrestle. There's a lot of great indie wrestlers out there, a lot of great companies out there right now. Get educated on it. And just do you, and just have fun with what's going on in wrestling. Just start believing again in wrestlers. Start making them believe again. Don't be so approachable. Don't go out for pizza with fans after, or invite them over to your house after your first time you meet them. Unless they're a rat or something. I just want to say thanks for listening to this week. I know I got off track as I do, but I wanted to talk about that episode. So please sign up for my channel. Please continue to watch and enjoy. Please feel free to post comments. Tell me how you're going to kick my ass. Tell me what you like and what you didn't like. We'll see what we can change. Next week we'll talk about something else. Hopefully it's not about wrestling. Maybe it's about football or something. But we'll see what happens. Anyways, thank you for tuning in this week, and I will see you later.